Welcome to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast, your weekly news roundup of hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories from around the Gem State. Hosted by Fish and Game's Public Information Specialist, Connor J. Lease.
And welcome back to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. Sorry for the week-long delay. A whole herd of us were up in Lewiston attending the November commission meeting, which, by the way, you can now watch with timestamps on our YouTube channel, as well as listen at your leisure on episode 94 of the Hook and Bulletin podcast, this podcast. So thanks to y'all's feedback, we've added timestamps to the podcast version as well, and links for both of those can be found down south in the show notes. This week we're talking about Kokanee Fingerlings, changes to muzzleloader elk seasons in the Palouse and Dworshak zones, and a cool collaborative Juniper removal project happening down in the Magic Valley region. More on that in a bit, but first, don't let a lack of gear stop you from getting out and hunting waterfowl this winter. Waterfowl hunting has a reputation for being expensive, but hunters don't need to shell out tons of money on a boat or a truckload of waterfowl gear to be successful. That's especially true in a state with as much public land as Idaho. Jump shooting is a low-cost option for public land hunts, but it is not the only one. The classic method of hunting over decoys is a good option for public land waterfowl hunters because the excitement that comes with watching ducks work a decoy spread or circling them to see if it is safe to land, the interactive component of calling and close shooting provide an experience that many waterfowl hunters live for. Public land hunters may have to work a little harder to set themselves up for success when hunting over decoys, including dedicating time for scouting and being willing to put in extra effort to get away from most of the hunting pressure. But for those who are willing to make the commitment, there are many walk-in public hunting spots scattered throughout the state that can provide good waterfowl hunting, and it doesn't take hundreds of decoys. Idaho waterfowlers can put together a successful hunt with nothing more than what they carry on their backs, including a shotgun, Idaho hunting license, of course, migratory bird permit, non-toxic shotgun shells, a federal migratory bird stamp, 6 to 12 decoys, waders, camouflage clothing, and duck calls. Now here's a hot tip for you. Alternatively, if you don't feel like shelling out, pun intended, hundreds of dollars on new decoys, you can always scour your local Craigslist or pawn shops for well-seasoned, used decoys. With a little elbow grease, you can give them the old ultra-flat Rust-Oleum rattle can renovation. That's a direct quote from Brian Pearson, by the way. Now, by finding and setting decoys in a place where ducks already want to be, hunters can eliminate the need for a large decoy spread that might be needed to attract birds from far away. With a smartphone or a computer, you have everything you need to start looking for a potential waterfowl spot. The first step is finding water, and when walking in with decoys, it pays to think small. Using Fish and Game's Hunt Planner or some sort of GPS mapping tool, hunters should scour smaller rivers and streams for public access points and search for potentially overlooked pockets of water. So think like creeks, sloughs, ponds, etc., on all different kinds of public property, including those that are more traditionally associated with upland game hunting. Also, don't ignore traditional waterfowl spots, including larger rivers, reservoirs, wildlife refuges, and Fish and Game's wildlife management areas and habitat areas. For these, try to identify spots where there is likely to be less hunting pressure, such as areas inaccessible by boat or off the beaten path. The Snake River and its reservoirs also provide some prime access to waterfowl hunting for southern Idaho. Once you've compiled a list of potential locations, it's time to get out and see what it looks like from ground level, and more important, whether the ducks like it or not. Observe your potential spots frequently to see if ducks are using them both before and throughout the season. While not necessary, a decent pair of binos makes spotting far-off ducks a whole heck of a lot easier. After you confirm ducks are using the location, study it closely to pattern the birds and determine when they are arriving and departing. That might be at first light, but it could also be mid-morning, which means a couple extra hours of sleep and warmer temperatures, or it could also be in the afternoon or early evening. In any case, you'll want to have your decoys out and be ready to hunt before they start pouring in. Putting in this work ahead of the hunt can minimize the amount of time you are staring at empty skies and allow you to plan a more efficient and productive hunt. Hunters shouldn't put all their effort into one location because it does not take much hunting pressure to discourage ducks from wanting to use it. This is especially true of smaller waters, so make sure you work to find and pattern ducks at several locations. Avoid overpressuring any single spot. Continue to scout various spots throughout the season, and above all else, be adaptable and mobile. For the best results, public land hunters need to be able to adjust their strategy based on where the birds are, and of course, where other hunters are not. The last step here is develop your game plan or game plans. Once you've tracked down some promising public areas, consider concealment, i.e., is there natural cover, or if you have to build or bring a blind, and then be adaptable. Ducks will generally land into the wind, so you will want to set up with the wind at your back if possible. Identify a number of different places you can set up at each location depending on the wind direction. Think about where you might want to position your decoys. Keep in mind that your decoys should be within effective shotgun range, somewhere around 40 yards. If you are hunting without a dog, you will also want to make sure that the water is shallow enough for you to safely wade, both to set out your decoys and to retrieve down birds. If it's a spot that you're likely to find other hunters, consider making a weekday trip if you can. On weekends or holidays, focus your efforts on your more secluded locations. Another consideration is weather. Earlier in the season, small waters such as ponds, sloughs, and backwaters may be a good option, but they may freeze as the temperatures begin dropping, which they are this week, and you will have to shift your focus elsewhere. This is where scouting for a variety of options pays dividends. Idaho's varied geography means duck hunting opportunities are different depending where you're located, but most areas have places where a person can hunt waterfowl, and it doesn't require a huge commitment of money and gear to be successful. For more information on where and when to hunt waterfowl, go check out the Idaho Migratory Game Bird Seasons and Rules brochure online or available at most sporting goods stores. Also, be sure to check out Brian Pearson's full story on our website if you took away some information from this report. Next up, our folks down in the Magic Valley region have teamed up with several other organizations to remove juniper trees and help improve wildlife habitat in southern Idaho. Fish and Game Habitat staff in the Magic Valley region, working in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service, Pheasants Forever, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Natural Resources Conservation Service, and Idaho's Office of Species Conservation, began a large-scale juniper removal project in the fall of 2022 in the southeastern portion of Game Management Unit 54. Juniper removal is a key component of restoring healthy sagebrush steppe habitat. Why, you ask? Well, as junipers expand into these landscapes, they crowd out native vegetation. They also increase wildfire risk and reduce habitat quality for many wildlife species. Removing encroaching junipers helps reduce fuels, improves plant diversity, and restores natural conditions that historically were maintained through periodic wildfire. Fish and Game is committed to improving habitat for fish and wildlife across Idaho, and much of that work is accomplished through broad, landscape-level restoration projects. These efforts are complex, long-term, and resource-intensive, making strong partnerships with federal agencies, non-governmental organizations, and private landowners essential. These partners provide critical funding, expertise, and on-the-ground support that help bring major restoration projects to life. From 2022 through 2025, crews have cut approximately 5,000 acres of junipers in the southeastern portion of Unit 54. But beyond juniper removal, Fish and Game implements a wide range of habitat improvement projects across the Magic Valley region. These include cheatgrass spraying, planting shrub seedlings, other vegetation removal to form fuel breaks, aerial seeding after wildfires, and using prescribed fire to promote aspen regeneration. Each project is designed with specific goals and requires significant resources and planning to complete. By working closely with dedicated partners, Fish and Game continues to carry out meaningful, science-driven habitat restoration efforts that benefit Idaho's wildlife and the people who value these landscapes. Go check out Kenzie Braddy's press release if you want to learn more. Link down in the description. Okay, now coming up just next week, here are a few changes to the muzzleloader elk season if you're hunting in the Palouse and Dworshak zones. Muzzleloader elk hunters planning to hunt the Palouse and Dworshak zones need to be aware of the following season changes for the 2025 season. In the Palouse zone, Units 8 and 11A are now open only for the harvesting of antlerless elk and on or within 1 mile of private agricultural lands. The season is open from December 2nd through December 14th. Unit 8A is open for the harvesting of spike or antlerless elk from December 2nd through December 5th, then is open for spike elk only from December 6th through December 14th. In the Dworshak zone, the muzzleloader season is open to antlered elk from December 2nd through December 14th. Hunting for antlerless elk with a muzzleloader in the Dworshak zone is now only open to those with the appropriate controlled hunt tag. Hunters, you're reminded that you got to have a valid hunting license, appropriate elk tag, and a muzzleloader permit to participate in these hunts. So go check out Regional Communication Manager Jen Bruns' press release if you want to learn more, or call up the Clearwater Regional Office sooner than later to get further information. Remember, offices are closed on the weekends, so call them up today if you have to. That's it for Major Stories this week. Let's hit the Rapid Fire Bulletin. The biggest day of the year for non-resident hunters is coming up quick, like next week quick. We've spread the word on social media, we've put out nearly a half dozen press releases, and even dedicated a whole bloody podcast to the first non-resident deer and elk tag drawing happening the first 2 weeks of December. But if you still have questions or want to learn more, hit the link below to read our Everything a Non-Resident Hunter Needs to Know About the 2026 Tag Drawing. And better yet, go listen to my colleagues Tara Reichert and Alex Erickson dive even deeper into how this tag drawing will work in episode 9 of the Shootin' the Bull podcast. Links for all these resources can be found in the description. Good luck. 1 million fingerling kokanee are headed to Idaho waters in 2026 thanks to Idaho Fish and Game's new captive broodstock program aimed at supplementing eggs taken from quote-unquote wild fish. It's the first batch produced by Idaho Fish and Game's newest hatchery project aimed at providing stability to the annual number of Kokanee fingerlings that can be stocked each spring. Fortunately for anglers, this year isn't a one-and-done study. The next 3 generations of captive spawners are currently being raised in hatcheries. Given the positive results of the first crop, fisheries managers and hatchery staff are hopeful for greater success in 2026 as hatcheries continue to dial in their captive kokanee spawning techniques. Hey, in case you missed it, watch the full recap of the November 20th Idaho Fish and Game Commission meeting in Lewiston. Topics covered included the adoption of administrative rules, an update on the non-resident tag draw, CWD update, and a whole lot more. Remember, you can listen to all 6 hours of the meeting on episode 94 of this podcast, or if you're not clinically insane, you also have the option of jumping to individual topics that you only want to know about, thanks to the trusty timestamps in the show notes. Idaho Fish and Game will be setting the new seasons for upland game, turkey, and fur bearers for 2026 through 2027 in January of 2026. Anyone who's interested is highly encouraged to review the proposed seasons and changes and weigh in with your own comments. The comment period is open until December 7th at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. That is all the news we have for this week. Thanks for putting an ear to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin. If there's something on your mind, or if you got a question related to fish and game matters, feel free to drop us a line at podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Again, that's podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next week.